UFC and DP House of Media, we have with us Kunal Gandhi. I call him the marketing and tech guru, and he has transformed many lives of youth in his journey towards entrepreneurship, towards technology-driven ideas, and he has also been consultant for us for many years. So let's hear his journey about everything tech and marketing. So hello, and would you like to say something to us?
Yeah, thank you so much first of all inviting me here. I think we've been talking about it for long and we never got a slot or rather matched our calendars to do this. So I'm so happy to be here and it feels like home. I think I'm more excited about things we can talk. Whatever discussed off camera now that is going to come on camera, so I'm really excited about that.
And I would like to highlight one of his aspects, that he is a person who's brutally honest. Like when I say brutally honest, you know what it means, and that's how you've grown so far, and you need gurus like that in your life. So that's what I would like to talk about him. So my first question for him is like, what is the X factor you consider in marketing?
That is $1 million question, and I hope my answer matches that $1 million expectation. But I would say, X factor of any marketing is the product. Problem is, at least what I experienced in last 7-8 years of me being a marketer, is that most of the times companies fail to create a right product. And when I say product, it is not just a tangible physical product, it can be a service provider who can productize their services. So I think the X factor that most of the companies who fail at marketing miss is a product. And for them, marketing starts once they create the product. You must have seen many clients, I think we worked together with a bunch of them, where the product itself was lackluster and they wanted to throw money at agency and bring in like good amount of business, which is not possible unless your product is really top notch. And then you put a layer of marketing over it, then success. There are high chances of you getting a success. I won't say it is a sure shot formula for success, but then there are high chances of you getting a success. So to summarize, I think X factor for any marketing is of course a product. Start with that. The day you think of a product, start thinking in that direction, that how this product can help whoever is going to be a buyer. Now, second aspect that I've been observing as a trend right now is that you build a distribution first. I think most of the companies also fail at this, that how do you build a distribution? And when I say distribution, you can take an example of something like Facebook, where if Facebook comes out with any other product tomorrow, they already got a distribution in place. So, though I have said I might be contradicting myself, but X factor is product, but nowadays X factor is community or the kind of tribe you build around your product. A good example of it I can give out of Pune itself is Two Brothers Organic Farming. I love their product. I love the way they are doing stuff. That is a good example of product being top notch and then marketing matching up with that product.
Correct. And I think more than anything, research and development is very important, because we have worked with clients together and they are like, this is the product, we thought it is trending, but we would like you to just get us lead generation through your social media. It doesn't work that way. So my next question is, let's say there are a lot of brands who come up with products or services and they want to stick to a trend. You know, there are Facebook trends or Instagram reel trends or TikTok trends. So, how do you perceive that?
See, I mean, for the sake of it, if you are doing if you are getting into any trend, it is not going to work out. Because most of the time I've seen that brands rather trying to capitalize on that particular trend, but it not always works out. For an example, recently, because I work in crypto, I work in metaverse and all those things, you will see that top brands getting into metaverse, and they, like Pepsi and some similar brands, started doing conversation on Twitter. Now people bash that right, center, and left because if you look at that conversation, it is so cheesy and it doesn't really serve any purpose to anyone. So, but at the same time, of course, if it is a cause that perfectly fits with your objective and the brand tone itself, then it works out. For an example, Oreo is a great brand that does it so well. I mean, in India, we don't have that sort of sports related viewership, which of course IPL and all is there, but from a ad perspective, I think we are not there yet. But there's something called Super Bowl where it is the Super Bowl, the whole Super Bowl as a concept revolves around what brands are going to, what sort of ads brands are going to do during the Super Bowl season. And once upon a time, like some years back, I can't remember the exact date, but some years back, during one of the Super Bowl seasons, lights went out. So it was very dark everywhere. And that very moment, Oreo came up with this very witty line saying that you can still dunk in the dark. Right? I mean, it's like everyone was talking about that darkness, but then the brand itself came up with a witty one-liner. So I would say, of course, you can get onto trend, but then at least 2 to 3 things should work out for you. One, of course, copywriting. That copywriting should definitely connect with what the trend is. Second, your product should definitely fit in what the trend is. If you are trying to fit a circle in a box, it is not going to work out. And third thing, how creative you can go.
Correct. That's good. So, my next question would be that you said about trends, but there is also a trend in the startup culture because the startup culture is booming right now. So, everyone has an idea in their mind and they want to get into creating something of their own, creating a startup and having these $1 million dreams. But the brutal reality is only, let's say, 20% of the startups succeed after their inceptive phase. So what is your take on that trend?
Thank you so much for clarifying at the very beginning of this video that I am very brutal, so I'll be very brutal. Plus, I am a Marwadi, so I'll be doubly brutal about it. So, see, as of now, I worked with a bunch of startups. I worked with startups where I was like 10th or 11th employee. I worked in a startup where I was like 7th or 8th employee, and we grew those startups from there. The problem with anyone who is looking at the startup ecosystem is that they're looking at the valuation, they're looking at the reach, they are not really looking at what is the profit of that particular startup once they raise that money. And the whole race right now is about raising the money. The raising the money is rather start of your sleepless night, not even starting a startup. Second thing, I do have a problem with startup as a word. I would rather like to see entrepreneurs who build successful, profitable businesses from day one. It doesn't matter what is the volume of that particular turnover or what is the volume of that particular profit, but I would rather focus on, are you profitable from day one? Are you able to sustain your business and do not need to fire people that you are hired? There is a problem itself in that particular case. In last few days, we have been hearing and we are observing the market that thousands of people are laid off. I find it that really bad. I mean, I find it, we consider all these role models, startup role models are the big people and we look up to them. But then you see at their businesses and it doesn't really make sense. I mean, I admire your IIT degree, I admire your IIM degree, but it doesn't make sense to me if you are hiring thousands of people and you are hiring them like 3 months later and in between you are raising millions of dollars. It doesn't make sense, and I'll be very honest, this bubble is going to burst and it is going to burst on the face of everyone. So if you are someone who wants to start a business, here is a simple plan, right? Get a business idea, try to find first 100 people who would pay for that idea. Don't raise a single rupee from anyone. Of course, you are privileged enough, then you can always take loan from your parents and all that. I won't get into it, it's your choice, but do not run after VC money, first of all. Second, from day one, think of your expenditure and understand basic finance. And that is the biggest problem. You can't really that model works. That is a Silicon Valley model that works in that part of the world. But for India, I would say that not going to build another bubble, which is worse. Build a business which is sustainable, profitable from day one. And to continue on the plan, yes, find first 100 people who would pay for your business, who would pay for your product, your service, sell them, and then think of what is next.
That's true.
At the same time, I am a true capitalist. I understand the importance of capital. You need to get a capital to be profitable and to grow, but then do it at a very reasonable way. Realistic way.
Yeah, that's true. So, coming to the technology part or the products, what you're talking about, that the startup founders have to be very sure of what they are, pitching and whether people. So it can't be unrealistic. And I think one of the great examples which I've seen in front of me is My Gate app, where they have leveraged the community part, which you talked about. Now they have the largest database of the people or the residents which are there, and they are just they've developed a very simple mechanism which is missing. So finding the missing factor rather than the X factor is something which is trending right now.
Yeah.
So what is now in digital marketing, the technology has been continuously transforming. Like every other day, the algorithms are going to drop. There's something else going to come, and again, it is because Facebook has a distribution strength or bandwidth to do all these things, goof ups in this. So, what is your take on technology?
See, I would say, thankfully, I've seen all the trends emerging in the last 7-8 years, and even before that, we always read about it, that how these trends came into being. But one basic underlying thing that hasn't changed, rather has become even more important, is the human factor. Problem is, I've seen tons of people getting lost in trying to get that best technology, best thing, but then eventually it is not going to help your cause because you're missing on the human factor. And I like to even talk about that one particular sentence where everyone used to say that, oh, this particular generation is losing putting all their brain into trying to let people click on their ads and all that. So it's the whole PPC or digital marketing model where everyone is just thinking day in day out that how people can click on my ads, but then you're missing on the human factor. So ultimately, technology is the enabler. Technology will always keep on emerging. I don't, because what used to work like 6 months, 1 year back, not going to stay there, and it is easy to. I might be controversial, but it is very easy to learn the technology. It is very easy to understand how Google AdWords or Google works. What matters is, in front of that particular system is a human. How do you connect with that human? Instead of then the approach is, instead of choosing that particular technology, choose what is your objective, how do you want to convey your objective, and then choose the technology which is just an enabler.
Correct, yeah. Utilize your content or your strategies to enable it.
Yep.
That's right. Because emotional quotient is very important in marketing, and you are serving humans more than anything else. So you have to be very sure of how that person is going to perceive that. Whether it's going to be annoying or whether it's going to be something which is a pain point for that person who's trying to find solution for. So I think.
See, ultimately, second thing also I would like to mention here is the whole thing about human connection is not about, oh, you need to understand or go very deeper into that. The whole point is there are people even now who are very close to certain things, and now they want their products or brand they use closer to that particular story, that particular cause. It could be environmental related, it could be something else. So now brand have to be conscious about that fact as well. If they are doing something, even if it's a small thing, like for an example, I will give a ridiculous example. Let's say that they are using plastic bags in one of their brand campaigns to spread the message on a ground. Let's say there was a time when tons of activation used to happen on ground and people used to get something, whoever is attending that. Now the plastic usage itself has come under scandal and people like, most of the people are getting aware of it, the new generation getting aware of it, and then their brand, then if they push in that direction, if their product positioning, their product packaging doesn't really adhere to all those rules, it is going to create a backlash. I myself have stopped using certain products because I did not really like the way they thought of certain things.
Yeah.
See, other side of it, another very controversial example, Hyundai India came under scandal because something happened in Hyundai Pakistan.
Oh, okay.
Now it doesn't really make sense. Of course, logically, Hyundai India on an entity level doesn't have to do anything in Hyundai Pakistan. They have their own things.
Correct.
But people started boycotting Hyundai India, and it came as such a thing that Hyundai India representative had to clarify, saying that we do not have anything to do with that particular dealership. At one point, they even had to dislock themselves from that dealership. So, point is, you need to be very cautious about all these facts.
Correct. People are getting more conscious about their choices also. Like
Yep.
people have become more aware of how the whole supply chain is, and then they are investing in that obviously. So coming very now, I want to go into virtual reality part of it because everyone has been talking about NFTs and everyone has been talking, okay, I'm going to get into NFT and everything, but nobody really knows the details of what exactly it is and how it is going to stand a point in India in the next 5 years. So what is your perspective on all of this? Because you have been working in this field since, I think, the pandemic.
Yeah. So yeah, it has been more than a year now that I got into what they call Web3 crypto. First thing first, I would say that 90% of crypto is Ponzi scheme. And I will get lots of hate for it because I work in the industry, but let me be very clear about it, that 90% of the crypto is Ponzinomics, where people are after some amount of money. But that is of course a big problem. But the bigger problem is why people are getting attracted to these sort of things. Because the opportunity to earn money or grow your potential to earn money are very limited in that sense. From a very finance perspective, this is where crypto helps you against banks. If you pile them against banks, there are certain things that works well for crypto. But the underlying philosophy of crypto, I will say, is Web3. Of course, this particular term Web3 has got tons of backlash, has come under immense scrutiny from whoever is the internet veteran. But the whole point of internet when it came into being was that it has to be open, it has to be democratic, everyone should have access to it. But eventually what happened is all the legacy systems started getting built and they now have hold of everything that happens on internet. For example, Facebook has tons of control over what goes on Facebook. Google has tons of control over what goes on search. Similarly, Apple has tons of control on what goes on that particular ecosystem. So these ecosystems are getting built and they are very centralized entities where you as a person who is who's participating on the ecosystem do not have control as such. They have the major control. If you say something that the present day government, let's say, doesn't like, and that government pressurizes that particular company, there are high chances that your content will go. And there is always tussle between all these entities together.
I've seen content creators getting banned on these channels in spite of having a very trending content.
Yeah, that would happen. So, I mean, freedom of speech is not absolute in that sense on any jurisdiction across the world. But then, what people started thinking is, I mean, we were promised something when internet came into being, which was very democratic, open. But now the version of it has become such an evil that it doesn't make sense anymore. Of course, I am of the opinion that it has to be a combination of all. You do need centralization to certain degree. You do need certain amount of censorship as well. But then the financial aspects of it have started because anywhere when such a sort of technology comes, financial use cases will be first to be adopted, and this is what happened with Web3. So Web3, imagine this world where you do not need a centralized entity to really approve what is happening between two people.
Correct.
And this is where Web3, and then it started with crypto first, because always, as I said, financial use cases will be adopted first in such a sort of environment.
Correct.
Hence, there are all the money laundering, all those sort of concerns are there. But then, metaverse as a concept, or NFT as a concept, or cryptocurrency as a concept are a byproduct of this particular philosophy.
So my next question would be about, you have, since many other, we have worked together for many of the events. So you are the pioneer, brand ambassador of talking about community building. And also, you have also been working on bridging the gap between the career-centric perspective and actual goals for, earning money for youth. So I've seen you setting out examples of guiding youth in terms of how they can start off their careers. And your first thing I would like to say, the first line he starts off when he starts talking to youth is, do not do MBA. So that is the one thing which his line starts off, and that just grabs the attention. So what is your take on community building and this perspective which you have?
See, I would first clarify the not doing MBA thing. See, MBA as a degree has lost its mojo. It could have, it might have been a go-to thing like some years back, but it doesn't make sense now.
Correct.
Why it doesn't make sense? Because the curriculum has not moved across universities in India. IMMs and those sort of colleges are exception. If you get into them, happy for you, do it.
Correct.
But if you are just for the sake of it, if you are doing an MBA, don't waste your time and money. Right? So it's not going to make sense from a career perspective. Now then, what are your options? Your options are focus on what you want to do. Try to do internship across companies because you got 2 extra years. You're not really then doing a full-time MBA educational course. You have that free time in hand. Go to companies, work with them, understand how things work. Try to focus on your own personality building. Try to focus on communication skills. Irrespective of whatever field you are in, your communication skills are always going to help you. And since the rise of remote work, communication itself has become a very focal point of your whole career growth. Irrespective of whatever other skills you have or not, you need to have communication skills because that is how you can get recognized in remote sort of setup. So that is second. Now the community part is, I think when we started doing it, we went across like almost all colleges, all MBA colleges in Pune. Ironical enough that we used to talk about don't go MBA colleges, but that is fine. We met almost more than 2,000 students, I guess. And
it was 3,000 around.
3,000 students. And the one thing that we observed was most of them lack these basic skills which you should have irrespective of whatever educational degree you are taking, like communication skills. How to express yourself, how to put your point, how to stop, how to ask questions. These are basic things which MBA degree is not going to anyway teach you. And when the time, and 2 years fly very fast, by the way, when you do an MBA degree, and when you come to a point where you're now out of MBA degree and you're at that point of your career where you need to find a job, you can't waste another year. Then it becomes very bad. It's a very bad situation to be in. So that is where we started, and we started talking to students. So one thing that I observed is, of course, everyone has very big dreams. But sadly enough, I don't know, it could be, I don't want to put a finger on that particular thing because I've seen both sides of the generation where certain people are very motivated, 13, 14 years old. Like children who wants to build, who are doing coding. I've seen tons of those sort of people in Web3. But on the other side of it are 10x more people who do not want to do any hard work, who do not want to really understand what is happening around their world. They are very much focused on doing very mediocre things on whatever social media and all. Doesn't make sense, and that was a trend that I observed. And then we sort of moved from that particular thing and we said, okay, fine, we'll do our offline meetups where only those who are interested will attain those.
Yes.
And that gave us right result, because then you meet very individuals who want to do stuff in their life. But yeah, I think that was common observation that I had.
Okay, so my next question to you is that you have been working with many international clients. Whenever I talk to you, you're talking about working with a client in Switzerland. You are working with somebody in Singapore, in US, and then everything is tech driven for you. But yet you're very firm that you want to, drive change in the Indian youth community. So the people which I know from IT or tech sector are really focused in their own career paths. They really don't want to do the community building part, or let's say creating a social impact. So why do you want to do that for yourself?
Yeah, I mean, see, it could be because of my upbringing, or it could be because of schooling I had. I'm a true patriot. I'm a Deshbhakt, as they call it. And I really feel that if you gain some privilege in your life, it could not be that great of a privilege, but whatever privilege that you have gained in your life, can you help other people who are less privileged than you in whatever sense of the word, then why not? And that is the whole motivation behind me talking to people. I want to help whoever is seeking help. Of course, you can't help those who are not seeking help, but you want to help those who are seeking help. We have met tons of people like from villages. We've been to those sort of villages where they are as smart, as shrewd, and as skillful as anyone who is living in whatever tier 1 cities that we call it in India. But because of lack of direction, because of lack of guidance, they have lack of confidence. So if one word from me or one sentence from me is going to boost their confidence, and if that is what all they need, why not? Absolutely. And I think we've been helping these sort of people. Most of the time they keep in touch, they ask questions. Whenever you must have explained that as well, you leave that particular session and they come back to you on social media asking questions. So I think that I feel very close to that particular thing. I think if we want to move ahead, we'll have to build like millions of such people who are interested in taking part of or growing their career, who are interested in moving ahead, who are interested in creating something for themselves and their families.
Absolutely, and I think they have tons of talent, like rural youth. I have been meeting them at various events or everything. So what he is trying to say also is that a platform is something which is needed for these youth, where they can equally represent themselves with full confidence, with the equivalent to the urban youth which already have a platform. So that is something which will bridge the gap between them. Talent is, I think, immense everywhere. Wherever you go, there's talent. But like you said, that the MBAs or the education does not teach you communication skills. So if you're very confident in your skin, or you're confident in the way you have your command over your language, then you'll be able to showcase your talent much efficiently in front of the world. So that's also my take, and that's how we mutually connect, and we've been able to build communities for so long is due to this common goal which we have together. So I would also like to ask you that you've noticed a gap between the youths in the rural areas and the urban areas. So what is your take for the coming 5 years of developing an equal platform or creating opportunities, as you say?
See, I mean, I wish it was that straightforward, which is driven by just people participating in it. Unfortunately, it is not the case. Government will have to get into it. And if you zoom out, India is going to get congested in certain cities where everyone wants to come into that city, and those cities are getting choked up. If India wants to really provide job opportunities to millions of people, we'll have to build 100 cities like what we have currently in Pune, Bangalore, or similar sort of tier 1. It is not going to, it's going to get really bitter, it is going to get really dark if we do not walk onto that particular path. So I would say government definitely, whatever sense, I don't want to get into politics. Of course, politics is close to my heart, and die-hard political person who has opinion on everything, but the common minimal program that every political party in this country needs to come together on is how you can build cities like whatever tier 1 cities we have, like 100 cities like that. If those cities are there, then the migration of people from that particular small village to city will stop, and you will create those opportunities there itself. I will give an example of it. Zoho is a very good company. They are at par with Microsoft Office. They got their own suite when it comes to entrepreneurs. And what the founder is doing now is they have put this particular mission where they would go to all small villages across certain states they belong to, and they will try to create those sort of offices there which will bring entrepreneurship or which will bring job opportunities to that particular locality which is away from cities. Now, on a private part, they can of course do this, but at the same time, the government also needs to bridge the gap and come on this particular part where they provide all a breeding ground for companies to shift and build there.
I think the focus has to be more on the development part of, the going into the basics of development of each and every entrepreneur or youth who is willing to, grow. So it's just that the lack of opportunities or the limited resources, I would suggest, in the rural part, that is stopping them from growing. And everyone wants to be connected to their families or be close to their roots. That's the rural part. And just because they don't have those resources in place in those areas, that's why they migrate. I have seen that, I'm working as a curator with the Global Shapers community, and ours is the first rural hub in India. And what I have noticed is that they are way more talented and way more ambitious and realistic because they have gone through very difficult phases in life, so they know what money means. They know how to invest. They in fact know how to channelize their finances pretty well because since the childhood they have faced a lot of problems than the urban youth have faced. They have to deal with the day-to-day expenses and everything and then learn or gauge opportunities. So I feel that we could, think about community building in rural area because that has immense potential and that could be the think tank for India because the most of the ideas have come from villages. So that's what I think about it. I would also like to ask you about your experiences with building Unfiltered Conversations and how was it for you to work with us? You can be again honest with the
No, I've been very honest about all those things. See, I think when we started Unfiltered, the whole point of it was that we want to talk to people who are from different fields and whatever season that we have done, we talk to different sort of diverse background people, try to understand their experiences, try to understand their story. And ultimately the aim was if someone listening to, even one person is listening to that story, they take inspiration and try to see how they can correlate and act on it. Not just take inspiration but act on it. So it was pretty well. I think we had certain issues on consistency, that how consistently we can get guests, how consistently we can bring on episodes. But eventually, I think that the whole process itself was a learning experience that we learned out of it. Now, what I wish is that eventually I want to see Unfiltered becomes one of the India's leading podcast, leading conversation platform, which is not just restricted to having conversation with an individual who achieve something, but at the same time becomes a driving force to drive conversation whoever is listening to that. And I think we already discussed certain plans about it. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll be able to act on it and make it bigger than ourselves.
And I think that was the idea behind first, getting it at a level where people start noticing it. And I was really shocked and overwhelmed to see that there were around, I think, together 7 lakh plus people who viewed it, the seasons. And it was immense. And I was like, okay, and people were liking the Unfiltered and the questions which were framed. So each and every guest who came in, for the Unfiltered Conversations or even the people who are watching it, They love the emotional quotient which was being highlighted in each and every question. Literally, like the last guest, Sandeep Ji, also talked about that. I just could reflect back on my journey and thank you for, connecting me to from where I belong. So that kind of research and development which went into creating those questions also paid off for us. And I think I really am proud of the whole team whose work is, it's just not me, but there are 5-6 people who work behind Unfiltered Conversations, and that has been a goal, and I think we can grow it much further with it.
We need to.
Yeah.
We need to,
Yes. So, what goals for you in the future?
No, see, as of now, I just want to do things that I like. Very easy, typical answer, I would say. But I think for me, what has happened over the years is that I'm not a made for employment per se. I am a freewheeling person. I like to work with multiple people at one go. I like to work with multiple projects in one go, which doesn't happen when you are restricted to one certain company. The last employment that I had, I was there for 4 or 5 years, but eventually I realized that world is becoming something different than what I perceived as someone who got into this career path 8-9 years back. I think because of remote opportunities have opened up in very different ways. I wouldn't imagine working with someone sitting in Singapore, sitting in Switzerland, or sitting in any other part of the developed world, of that part of the world. But now, because remote opportunities are there, I can work with anyone I want to work with. And I definitely want to keep doing that. I want to work with these sort of people who give me very different experience. They come with very different cultural background. They come with very different ethics and all that. So it helps me to grow. And eventually, if that growth happens, I can translate that into building something substantial here as well. So I think. And that is where I think the good example of it itself is working with you, where we are building something with UFC. We want to do something apart from this on a content creation part. I think that amalgamation is there. So to summarize, I want to keep doing what I'm doing. I want to work with thousands of people across the world. I want to restrict myself to one certain thing. That is how I want to move ahead.
That's amazing, and we look forward to working with you for many years. And yes, that's a wrap for today's episode of Casual, powered by House of Media and UFC. And we look forward to seeing much more love and response for all our episodes. Thank you for connecting with us today. Thanks for your time, and it was lovely speaking to you. So
likewise. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.